what about changing your last name? Is that a big deal?
I'm having trouble convincing her to change her last name to mine.
Ooh.
One of the biggest issues we hit was about marriage. He thinks that I should take his complete last name.
How do you feel about me not taking your last name? Should I take my husband's last name after getting married? Why is it a tradition for women to change their last name in America? What are the pros and cons of changing your last name? If I don't change my last name, how's my husband gonna feel about it? So welcome to my channel, I'm Shayna. Since we talk about how to pick an English name for yourself in my previous video, in this video, let's keep talking about names. But this one is more important and permanent because it's your family name. Let's get started. All right, first of all, let's talk about cultural relativism. I'm from China, was born and grew up in China, moved to America when I was 26 years old. So in China, it's our tradition for women to keep their last name. Nobody changes their last name after getting married. Their kids will go with the father's last name. I think this is the same in America. But majority of women in America would change their last name to their spouse's last name after they get married. So I did a little bit of research online. Here's the data I got. Despite the feminism, despite the gender equality, only 20 to 30% of women in America are retaining their last name. That means there are about 70 to 80% women change their last name. For example, Jennifer Lopez, she got married last year around July. And she even changed her last name. And she's Jennifer Lopez. She got married, I don't know, 3 or 4 times already. It's like, wow, this is a tradition in America and I have to understand. Especially after I got married, people keep asking me, have you changed your last name yet? That question was never crossed my mind until so many people were asking me. And finally, I list the pros and cons of changing your last name. In terms of pros and cons, I have to ask my best friend, ChatGPT. So it took him not him or her, I don't know, it's a robot, 30 seconds to list me 3 pros and cons. Let's go through the first one. Okay, pros of changing your last name. First one, symbol of unity. It can symbolize the union of 2 individuals and the creation of a new family unit. For me, I would say getting married is already kind of a symbol of unity, right? You already get married, you go through the ceremony and get your marriage certificate. It's not symbol enough. Why the symbol of unity has to be women change her last name to their spouse's last name? Why cannot go both ways? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's go to the second one. Second one, cultural or family tradition. In some cultures, it is considered a long-standing tradition for women to take their husband's last name upon marriage. Well, that's not my tradition. If you grow up in a culture that everybody don't change their last name or do change their last name, then you wouldn't think about that's an option for you. Yeah, I understand tradition perspective. The third one, ease of identification. A shared last name can make it easier for a couple to be identified as a unit, especially when dealing with legal or medical matters. I mean, I was in the ER room for a couple times last year and 2021. It was not an issue for my husband to visit me in hospital. I don't understand why that's an issue. Some of my friends told me if we're gonna have kids in the future, it might create a complication for me to picking up my own kids but not having the same last name. I don't know if that's a real struggle in America. Maybe it is, but we'll see in the future. Once we got kids, we'll decide if that's too complicated for to approve that, oh yeah, I'm this white boy's mom. Well, at least half white boy's mom. All right, now it's time to go through some cons. So first one, professional implications. Changing a name can have an impact on a woman's professional identity, especially if she has established a reputation or build a professional network under her maiden name. I thought about changing my last name just purely because I don't have a good relationship with my dad. I'd rather to take my mom's last name. But I'm living in America, and no matter it's my mom's last name or dad's last name, the name is Chinese name. So it's part of my identity. I'm not too attached to my last name. For me, it's not really applied to my situation. Let's look at the second one. Second one, complexity. Yes, it's very complicated to change your last name. So my journey starts with, first of all, I was like, no, hell no, I'm not going to change my last name. Then, because it's tradition, in this position, I was like, okay, let's think about this tradition. Maybe I can change my last name. I even put my husband's last name on the marriage application. But the thing is, the application is not an official paper to change your last name. It's just give you a pass, an easy pass to change your last name in the future. If you don't put your last name on the application, then they're gonna make it more even difficult to change your last name in the future. All the document, I have to change everything. It's such time consuming. That's the main reason I haven't changed my last name yet. Third, loss of identity. Okay, let's go deeper. Changing my last name is sort of like wiped out my Chinese identity. On paper, I'm living in San Francisco. Like half of the population in San Francisco are Asian, and they might think, okay, I'm Chinese American, right? They might think I'm Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, whatever. But the way that I keep my last name give them my identity away. Like I'm Chinese. And my husband asked me this question. There's one day we were talking about change or not change your last name, and he was like, have you thought about you might go through some racist discrimination? I was like, holy shit, I've never thought about that. And then I started thinking about that. I was like, if somebody against me because my Chinese last name, will that be a solution for me to change my last name? And later on, they figured out I'm a Chinese. It's not a solution. Change your last name is not a solution to solve racism. Okay, that's my answer. If I have to go through this racism, then I have to go through it. Put everything in front. They know that I'm Chinese, and what about it? If they think I wouldn't make a big deal if I try to complain about something, or they, treat me differently, then that's part of my journey. It's part of me being Chinese, living in America, and that's fine. I will take that. If that really happened to me, great. I got more content. Thanks for providing content. I've got more story to tell. Anyways, here's the cons. Some cons, I changed that to my pros. While I'm doing this research, I was watching a video on YouTube, and I saw a girl comment under this video. She said, I have a foreign last name, and a huge part of my self-development was coming to fully accept my heritage, my name, and what it means. Doing away with it almost feels wrong. For that reason, I would like to hyphenate. I don't even want to hyphenate. I want to just keep my last name. It's your name. You use the name for 20 or 30 years, and all of a sudden you have changed your last name. I mean, girls, you're gonna lose at least a part of your identity. Gone. All right, it's time to interview my husband. How do you feel about me not taking your last name?
Offended, hurt,
Seriously?
angry. No. I think it's your decision. It's your name.
Is that your true feeling?
Yeah.
Would you feel happier if I took your last name?
It would not make me happier.
Do you want to take my last name?
I don't want to.
Best husband ever.
Tell everybody.
Ultimately, it's a deep and personal decision. Whether you decide to change your last name or not, think through. It's your name, and understand the reason. Maybe you'll change your mind later, and that's totally fine. Alright, this is today's video. Comment below and let me know what you think about women change their last name. Love you all. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Is that normal for Portuguese women to take their husband's last name after getting married?
Yeah, that's the most common. Yeah, that's the tradition.
Do
yeah.
you want your future wife,
No, wait, no.
Roro, to take your last name?
Okay, no, he's not. I think it's half-half.
What?
Half-half.
Half-half?
Yeah.
Are you gonna take his last name after get married?
No.
Hell no?
No.
Absolutely not?
No.
Why not?
Sounds weird.
Sounds weird. What? Why? Have you ever thought about it?
Not really.
Exactly, you haven't thought through. It's just our tradition.
Like as the thoughts come in and bump out. It's like reject.
Have you guys talked about this?
I don't want her to take my last name. So.
You don't want her to take your last name? Why not?
Well, my family specifically, we don't do that. So that's one reason.
Oh.
And secondly, I like her to keep her last name.